Having been 8 months since the last one, it's time for the return of the Why No One Plays series, and who better to do it with than Rosa. She's a relic of an older, simpler era, and an era that simply moved on. And in this video, we'll talk about just how Rosa has gotten to the point she is now, being the 93rd most played brawler in the game, from once having her own apocalypse and easily the most played brawler in the game. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and keep up with my videos. Second, join our Discord server. We have some fun stuff to do there, like our very own 1v1 rank called Gauntlet. Third, consider becoming a channel member if you're interested in supporting out the channel and have ample disposable income for some cool perks, like watching videos early or getting to decide on future video ideas. Finally, if you like the music in the video, it's actually all made by me, so check out my second channel for more music. I also dropped an album recently, so check that out if you're curious. Let's go back to 2019. COVID hadn't happened yet and Brawl Stars is popping. And they've just released a new brawler, Rosa. And, well, two things. She was broken and everyone, and I mean everyone, had her. Why? Well, she was a rare brawler, which meant that basically everyone unlocked her super quickly. Furthermore, she also had a 19 gem offer in the shop, which made her even easier than normal to get, especially considering mega boxes back then had gems in them. As for her brokenness, well, her super was utterly insane. It had 80% damage reduction and an insane 6 seconds of usage. So, not only was she basically invincible during her super, but she had it for 2 more seconds than she currently does right now, which may not seem like a lot, but was completely broken at the time. Furthermore, she literally only required hitting all 3 of her ammo to get her super, so not only was her super insane, but it was insanely easy to get. This led to the well-known event known as the Rosa Apocalypse, a point in time where games would be filled with nothing other than Rosa. Unfortunately, this didn't last long. She required emergency nerfs. Yes, it was that bad. She received a 10% decrease in damage reduction and a 2-second super duration nerf. Even this wasn't enough, and Rosa got nerfed yet again, with another super duration nerf along with other nerfs. And guess what? This wasn't enough either. She got a third and final set of nerfs to her main attack and supercharge. And this is where Rosa's downfall began, and where we start talking about why no one plays her. The first reason, big nerfs. Whenever a brawler gets nerfed heavily, there's a massive loss in player base for the brawler. And it makes sense. Why play a worse version of a brawler that used to be strong? Especially for people who didn't play the brawler for any other reason than that the brawler was strong. And especially considering the fact that Rosa was nerfed multiple times, it was clear that she was much worse afterwards, and so people dropped her quick. We've seen this happen recently with Larry. We all remember the Larry Apocalypse and the absolute pandemonium it caused. And we all remember the huge nerfs that came afterward, update after update. Even now, Larry's still a top 3 thrower in the game, yet his play rates are just mid now, being at 55th, mainly due to the fact he's been nerfed so many times that people just sort of forgot about him. Furthermore, Rosa is, well, a tank. Tanks are pretty much universally unpopular, at least in comparison to other classes. In most games, not only including Brawl Stars. However, in Brawl Stars, this is also the case. Looking at the stats, out of the top 40 played brawlers in the game, only 3 are tanks. Can you guess the common thread between these 3 tanks? Yep, they have buffies, being BB, Bull, and Frank. If we look at the bottom 10 played brawlers in the game, an astonishing 4, yes, 4 of them are tanks. Being a tank inherently makes a brawler unpopular, likely due to their more difficult gameplay, requiring much more thought than your average damage dealer or assassin. Knowing how to properly use your health to deal with enemies is something that, unfortunately, a lot of the people playing the game have not discovered how to do. Why play someone with mid to low damage and range, even if they have a lot of health, when you can play someone who can get easily kills and team wipes? With this in mind, let's take a look at Rosa's gameplay and see what insights it can give us. First of all, and this might be one of the bigger reasons, her lack of a reliable approach tool. A Approach tools are quite common for Brawl Stars tanks. Daryl, Primo, Bull, they all have one. Rosa? Not really. And unlike someone like Frank, who has his massive health, Rosa only has a shield, which she gets with their super, and lasts a mediocre amount of time. Buster, who also has a shield, at least has a workable range and a different way to get his super. Rosa? Nothing. However, it's worth noting that most of her gameplay is revolved around bushes, so speed gear is obviously her own version of an approach tool. However, speaking on her reliance on bushes, this is another reason why she isn't played that much. I would venture to say that out of every brawl in the game, Rosa relies on bushes the most. Because of this huge reliance on bushes, well, on maps that are quite open and don't have much bushes, Rosa is a lot less likely to be played. This is basically cutting the total amount of maps Rosa is actually played on, which could be another huge reason as to why her play rates aren't that high. Furthermore, her damage output, even compared to other tanks, is painfully mediocre. It simply hasn't kept up with the general damage inflation we've been seeing. And of course, she has a star power to increase her damage during her super, but this is at the cost of not being able to use her other star power, which is also very useful for her and her survivability. At the end of the day, nobody likes to play a brawler that can't really damage much, unfortunately. And this leads to my next point, the overall power creep and aggro meta that's been going on. Brawlers are getting stronger and stronger, with more and more damage, especially burst damage. Without her super, Rosa is quite weak against brawlers who have lots of burst damage. Even with her super, the main problem comes with the feed it gives. Say you're facing a Clancy. They can simply spam supers on you even during your super, and even get a hypercharge, and destroy you the moment your super is done. She desperately needs a form of supercharge reduction during her super, or she's just gonna get melted the moment she's outside of her super form. Furthermore, the increase in crowd control abilities such as slows, knockbacks, and stuns have destroyed Rosa's place in the meta. She's especially weak to them, having no approach tool and having a short duration based super. This means that any reduction to that duration, such as a stun, will make Rosa inherently worse, as her shield will be useful for a lesser time. Finally, well, and this is an obvious one, she doesn't have a Buffy. In a meta carried by Buffies, she desperately needs one to get a revamp. She had a bit of a resurgence during the hypercharge era because she had a great hypercharge. But of course, that was only temporary. To be honest, even if she gets great buffies, it'll probably only be a temporary buff in the meta. She needs permanent changes, like the supercharge reduction during her super, making her Thorny Glove star power baseline, and maybe making her invulnerable to crowd control during her super, something like Poco's gadget. Obviously, we have to talk about her design as well. She's a middle-aged woman who's also a botanist. Yeah, not exactly a very popular design, to be honest. Unlike a brawler like Edgar, who has a degree of relatability for his fanbase, or an inherently interesting design like Mortis, Crow, or Spikes that draws people towards them, Rosa doesn't really have that for her. And of course, Brawl Stars doesn't really push her, or even anyone of her trio, basically at all in their advertising. When's the last time you've seen Rosa star in literally anything? In fact, she doesn't have a single animation dedicated to her solely. Sure, she was highly played on release, but how are people supposed to remember her if Brawl Stars doesn't make an effort to push her? And at this point, why would they? Her very design is unappealing to the majority of the player base, her gameplay is unappealing, and her meta placement is absolutely cooked. At the end of the day, with over 100 brawlers in the game, some are bound to get neglected, and Rosa is one of them. But maybe not every brawler in the game needs to be extremely popular like Mortis, Colt, or Edgar. Maybe it's fine for some brawlers to be niche. But, as always, thanks for watching. Watch this video, or this playlist, or join the Discord server.